Yes, sir, boys and girls. Here we go again with the Four Outdoorsmen on the Alive and Social Network. Thanks for checking out the podcast tonight. Alive and Social. If you like it, listen to it, post it on your social media.
And if you don't?
Post it on your social media. Quit being selfish. We have families to feed. No, we're, and that's an interesting thing to bring up. We're really in this. This whole thing started because we're looking for free hunting trips. No.
Latrell Sprewell. Remember that?
He got a family to feed. He was only making
$13 million.
$13 million. He's got a family to feed.
I can't do this. I've got a family to feed.
Right. My family feeds me, I like to think. So, Boomer not with us tonight, so we've got the wild card. Drew, man, how was your week, buddy?
Wonderful. Every day's a gift, buddy. I had a good week. I did a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I like supporting people who support us. Scout O'Malley is one of our friends here. He's one of the big shots from the aliveandsocial.com. And his family has been doing a thing called Spirit of Sharing for like 30 or 40 years. And they have a big holiday party every year. And it's at a different place every year. And this year was at Mendocota Country Club in Mendota Heights. And all the money that is raised there's silent auctions, there's bids, there's all kinds of things. And all the money went to Gigi's Playhouse. It's all about Down syndrome. Mm-hmm. And every year they have a different charity that they're going to give money to. And I don't know how much they raised, but it was a lot of fun. And so Diana and I went and supported these guys and bought a few things and met some people. It was a wonderful experience. So thanks to Scout O'Malley and his family for Spirit of Sharing and benefiting Gigi's Playhouse. I learned a lot about Down syndrome. It was cool deal. So that was one of my things. How about yours?
A highlight of the week for sure. We talked a little bit about before the podcast. I can't remember the name of our guest. I'm so terrible at that. But we had a gentleman on talking about building a trail out at Afton State Park.
Right.
So I got the old mountain bike, dusted it off, greased up the gears, and took it out to Afton State Park.
Now, why didn't you call me and say you were going out there? I could have gone out with you.
I don't know. I should. I was just down the week before down in Red Wing. What's that one that goes from Welsh Village
that's not
Cannon
Lane.
Falls?
No,
that's the Cannon River Valley bike trail down there. That one was a nice mellow cruise down to Welsh Village ski area.
That's for
and then back. That was a 20-mile round tripper. So I thought we'll take her out to Afton State Park and get her off trail. Get manly about this. I rode in about 1,500 feet, and that's about as far as the bike made it. And I went, well, this isn't gonna. No. That's way uphill and that's way downhill. I just forgot my helmet was the only reason. No, it's that was pretty stout territory.
What kind of bike? What kind of bike have you got?
It's a specialized. What do they call it? The Hard Rock or Rock Candy or something model or something like that. I don't know.
Got me.
It's you've got your $1,500 bikes, and then you've got your $100 bikes. Mine is much closer to the $100.
When I took it,
not quite a $100 bike, but it's about the same. I traded it for a pair of skis. Let's put it that way.
I know nothing about anything, and especially bikes. And I can hop on these babies. I couldn't change a tire on a bike if it had if my life depended on it. And I did this RAGBRAI thing. I rode a bike across the state of Iowa 5 years ago or something, 500 miles.
Yeah,
in
that's
7
impressive.
days.
That's a big one.
That was a cool deal. But all of a sudden, I went down one time. I got knocked down by a guy who's going crazy, and
Lance Armstrong.
Get up, and
Roid Rage.
My bike is upside down. I bought a bike. I told you this for $400. Sold it for $300 before I left Iowa. That was fun. That's a one and done deal, baby. I'm done.
Yeah.
Anyway, so as I'm down, I'm okay. My elbow is bleeding, but the guy's, you okay? I think I'm okay. We take the bike, put it on the side of the road, the chain's off, the bike's upside down. He goes, I think your derailer's okay. You're going to be okay. Thanks, buddy. What the hell is a derailer?
Yeah.
I don't know what a derailer is.
That's the little thing, I think, that shifts the chain for you. It's a little guard on your chain down there in the front, and that's what really keeps your chain on when you're changing gears. But those are road bikes, and that's a different animal. Mine's just just a kind of a starter mountain bike kind of thing. But I was in over my head out there. However, it was a beautiful day, and I parked it. And it was, Sunday, just a beautiful day out. So I parked it and went hiking looking for our buddy's trail that he's working on. I'm not sure that I found it. Some of those trails look like they'd been worked on, others not. But it's down there by the river. I've done a lot of Afton Alps skiing over there. Even played a couple of rounds of golf, but never took the right down into the state park. And so I was so curious about it, and it was a beautiful day and didn't have any hunting buddies that wanted to go do any hunting. So I thought, heck with it. And
I've golfed.
Had a blast over there.
I've golfed at Afton Alps myself a couple of times, and it's a hilly course, man. It's a lot of work. And then I see these idiots, and that's a compliment, riding these bikes up and down these hills on the golf course. That's a lot of work, man.
Yeah, and the golf course, also in the ski area. Now that's available for mountain biking as well, except that is closed this time of the year.
It's a gorgeous park.
Well, yeah, they're getting the ski area ready over there, and they've been blowing some snow that way with these cold temperatures we've had at night. So that was closed down. So yeah, I took her over to the big boy side and in over my head a little bit over there, but it's such a beautiful state park, and just had a great day, just kind of kicking around there.
And our producer here, Mark Lukey, and I went with his son Nicholas to the Ice Expo at the Blaine Swans Sports Center in Blaine.
Hardwater Expo.
Hardwater Ice Expo.
National Sports Center.
Yeah, boy, I tell you what, there was a lot of people there. I tell you, we say we're going into our third winter. It was Ticket Outdoors, with the 4 Outdoorsmen. Thanks for listening, everybody. But the energy is nuts. You could just sit there and watch people, foam at the mouth, looking at all the new stuff that's out there and buying stuff left and right. All these clam fish houses, and it was just jammed, and people were all over the place, and it was very exciting.
I was looking at, I was on the website. I didn't have a chance to get up there, but I was on the website looking at all the new products. On their website, they have a tab, new products for 2015-16 Hardwater season, and I'm always amazed at, just when you think it's so saturated, what else can you come up with? Yeah. But, we had a chance to tour Clam during their open house earlier this year, and I had a chance to duck off into the research department, research and testing. And, yeah, they're working on stuff that they're going to be developing and introducing for the next 5 or 6 years. They're way out in front. And a lot of it's just a little tweak thing here and there. But ice fishing is definitely one of those things that when I go out and do it, if you're going to be out in the elements and not just sitting in some swank ice house, I want to be comfortable, man. And I don't want to drown.
I played softball today.
Drown.
I played softball in the Vadnais Heights Dome. I play senior ball once or twice a week, and one of my good friends, Gary Benson, is an avid fisherman, especially hardwater fishing. He said, "Man, can't you get me one of those Vexilars for cost?" I said, "How old is your I'm calling him a fish finder, a depth finder. What do you call these things? I don't know." And he's got a Vexilar that's only 3 years old. I said, "What's the difference between the Vexilar from 2013 to 2016?" Not much, but it's new.
Yeah.
It's not even a whole lot, but it's new.
The graphics get better and more clear, and they make the screens a little bit bigger, or they make them a little more portable. There's little gizmos and tricks that they put on there, and
a lot of them, you can have Wi-Fi on your screen. They have cameras built in too, so you can have a camera on one side, and you can have, depth and fish on the other.
Why don't you just fish with someone who's got that crap?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I do.
That's what I do.
Can you surf porn on them while you're out there on a slow? Yeah.
Oh, how do you know that, Mark?
He saw it at the ice show. Yeah. It's one of the new features.
It's the only time I'm alone. I can't help it.
I took Sunday off. I normally work Sundays selling real estate, but Dinah and I thought we'd sneak to the cabin Saturday night, hop in the hot tub, and Saturday night when I had a bite to eat, and get ready for the Vikings-Packers game. I wanted to go to the small pubs in Chautauqua, Wisconsin, and just make fun of everybody. We had a good time, but we didn't make fun of a whole lot of people, I tell you. But it was a good time. It's a lot of fun bickering back and forth with those guys, but that was fun.
Highlight for you for the week, Mark, over at the Hardwater. It's not the Hardwater Expo. Is it the Hardwater Expo? I get them confused. There's the big one over in St. Paul coming up, too.
Yeah, that's coming next week, I believe, December 4th.
Yeah, first weekend of December.
I love those shows because, we've been doing this for a while, and we know everybody there.
Yep.
So it's so much fun. I mean, half those clam guys we've had on. We saw John Paul Tessier, remember the Lake of the Woods guy. Mm-hmm. We saw Jiggy, talked to him, had a cool interview with him.
Yep.
He talked about his new show. I think it's called something the Ice Belt.
Across the Ice Belt?
Across the Ice Belt. Yeah. And, Thane Jensen, we had him on.
Dave Gens, we've interviewed many times.
Yep. They're all there.
Yeah, you feel that's why I like going over to that one's First Ice, it's called. Mm-hmm. Is that one that's coming up over in the River Center here the first weekend of December?
That's just called the Ice Fishing Show.
Ice Show, yeah, or whatever. Yeah. And
I got a hug from Shelly. I don't know Shelly's last name.
Yeah.
Shelly Siebert? No, is that what it is?
Yeah, and her boyfriend. They came on once. So, I mean, we know all those guys. It was a lot of fun.
That's the one I'll be headed over to. And I don't know. I bet there are guys that they're up at Gander Mountain. Last weekend they had their first. Maybe that was the first ice event. That's right.
Yeah.
They had a Gander Mountain, and Brian Brosdahl
Was that in
up
Forest
there.
Lake? Were you on Highway 35E? Is that where you were?
Yeah, well, just 35 by the time you get up there. But and that's the first ice event. Brian Brosdahl and a bunch of big hitters are up there. Tony Roach was there as well doing a seminar. And so then I'll get over to the one in St. Paul, and that one is that's the biggie.
Well, Mark said we're doing a show at that.
It was a different feel.
Bucket.
Last time this year, we already had 6-8 inches of ice.
Yeah.
So now, there's just, some of the lakes around my house are just starting to glaze over, but I think it was a little different feel last year because people were out and people were really excited. But
And there was, I remember when we were over in St. Paul for that show the first weekend of December.
that was cold as hell.
There were people out ice fishing. I mean,
yeah.
there was good ice on some of the area lakes, some of the smaller lakes.
I asked Ziggy, I told him we're going to Devil's Lake on December
Jiggy,
15th, Jiggy, December 15th or 16th, and I said, are we going to be fishing open water? He said, no, there should be ice. There should be ice. I don't know if you're going to be walking on it, but there should be ice. And
Screw that. I want to go to the Ilpout Festival.
Yeah.
That's going to be the rock.
Hey, did anyone read the outdoor news this week?
Yeah, I did.
Did you see the big article about Brandon Johnson again?
Yeah, I
right,
did.
right in the middle. There's a huge story about Brandon Johnson revisiting. It's a 1-year anniversary from the time he got his ass chewed
Biggest
by the.
bear's face I've ever seen.
And I thought that was good, so I gave him a shout out today. We talked a little bit today, and asked him how he's doing. He's doing as well as can be. The left hand isn't working, but it is what it is. But so we're pulling for Brandon Johnson's a 1-year anniversary, if you want to call it an anniversary. But
Yeah, well, it's a dubious anniversary, no less.
yeah, I tell you, we'll get to our guests. We got Dave and Amy Freeman here on a couple of seconds here. But I had a Lions meeting last night. As a matter of fact, you're going to benefit from that Lions meeting from last night. Right?
Was that from last night?
That was last night. You're going to eat that prime rib from last night.
It's in the refrigerator. I did want to ask you what Lions meeting that was if it wasn't from the weekend.
No, it was last night.
How come you always feed this guy?
Because you
My
have a wife.
She doesn't cook. I'm hungry too.
Boy, prime rib was great. We wait till you taste it. Prime rib.
And
yeah.
a brownie.
Yeah. Anyway, one of the things we had someone. We always have guest speakers, and one of the things I learned last night, we have gambling at Jethro's downtown in the Montemita area. And our Lions Club, the Wildwood Lions Club, raises a lot of money that goes to charity. We actually, on the average, give 42% of our money to taxes. They tax the charitable income that goes to the state, supposed to go in the general fund. Okay, that's 42%. We're going to be up to 50% before the end of the year because they spend a lot of money at Jethro's, apparently. I just found out last night that the state is trying to pass some kind of law that all the charitable gambling tax money is not going to go into the general fund. They want $50 million a year for 10 years to go toward the stadium, the new Viking Stadium. $50 million a year they're taking from charitable gambling that's supposed to go into the general fund that's going to go to helping build the stadium for the next 10 years. Isn't that something? And we're trying to lobby down to $35 million because they got you by the balls.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. And they're taking money and just
I'll
drives me
never
crazy.
step a foot in that place, ever. And there goes all my gambling money.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why we continue to subsidize millionaires. Because Minnesota, we let them get away with it. We beg you to take our money and give it to millionaires. We want you to do it. So
I know nothing about that stuff. I should get more involved in politics, but it scares the hell out of
Well,
me.
it's a municipal stadium, and they'll bring a lot of jobs downtown and yada yada. But I'm not going to go to any games there, and not as a protest. I just don't feel like going to watching a bunch of millionaires play a game that we used to call football. I can't hit anybody now. Concussions. I see a couple of doctors, neurologists in Minnesota have recommended against kids playing football at the high school level now.
There you go.
There's the neurologist right there. There they are. So no more football for the kids, and it's ridiculous. I don't know why you'd want to watch professional sports. To be
Talking
honest.
about kids in sports, Mark and I talked about this on the way to the studio. Dave and Amy, hang on a sec. We're going to be with you in a second here, but I've got an 8-year-old granddaughter. We have 10 grandkids. Very blessed to have those 10 grandkids. 8-year-old granddaughter, Amberly, is playing hockey this weekend in Lakeville, all right? They're just little kids starting this game. They have a 3-game tournament Saturday, maybe a 4-game tournament Saturday and Sunday, but everyone's got to stay in the hotel because it's their out-of-town tournament. Why does an 8-year-old kid have to stay in a hotel when they live about 30 minutes away? Because it's just throwing money away. I'm so against that. And my daughter-in-law says, well, I can't be the only parent who's not going to let my kid. It's just so hard. They got you by the butt, man. They keep throwing the money away, and they think everything is endless.
Sydney was in gymnastics, and she had meets in Kansas City, California, and Mexico.
Wow.
And they're like,
Mexico?
well, Mexico, which you've got to completely pay for in the whole thing, and you want to see your kid compete. And they said, well, but you get a trip to Mexico. It would be nice. You turn into a family thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to Mexico. I want to go hunting. I want to take
meet.
Exactly. Hang out with a bunch of gymnast parents.
But think of all the money that gymnastics has made for her in her career, and that's all coming back to you right now.
Yep, zero. Zilch. Add up the doctor's bills.
And the pressure is on you to accommodate. How do you say no? Oh, that's just, I'm glad I'm...
Look into her little eyes and you go, no.
There you go.
You don't get to go. Well, luckily, you know what sold me? Gymnastics mothers.
Yeah, no kidding.
By the pool. I mean, those football mothers, those are large women because they have large kids. I mean, look, a woman actually birthed Mark Lukey.
Yeah.
We assume. And but those little gymnasts come with little moms. Yeah. Poolside in Mexico.
They're flexible.
I never made it to her meet, but I heard she did well. No, I didn't go on that trip. My mom and my ex.
Remind me to
Sydney
tell
on
you
that
the Willie Nelson line from Electric Horseman when they're by the poolside. I can't do it now,
right.
but we'll do it some other time because we've got some people coming on the show here.
National Geographic 2014 Adventure Educators
Right.
of the Year, I should say.
Right. Yeah.
National Geographic does several Adventurist of the Year awards, and they were the Educator Adventures of the Year. I think I screwed that up probably. Dave and Amy Freeman.
Yeah, they've done so much, and of course we don't even know half of it. But right now they are in the Boundary Waters. They started. They got to September 23rd, so they've been here for 2 months, and they're there for a cause. They're trying to bring up awareness of the potential mining by the Boundary Waters.
Right.
Hello.
Hello, this must be Dave.
Yes.
Dave Freeman, this is Brian Zepp with the Four Outdoorsmen, sitting here with Mark and the Wild Card Strew tonight. How are you?
We're doing great.
Were you expecting this call?
Yes, we were.
Oh, good. Is it just you, or is Amy joining us?
Oh, I'm here too. Hi.
All right. We've got Dave and Amy Freeman.
I didn't think Amy even existed. Last time she wasn't on the air at all.
I thought Dave made her up. National Geographic 2014 Adventure Educators of the Year. Welcome to the Four Outdoorsmen, you crazy kids.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Our pleasure. Let's talk about that adventure that you two went on. Nearly 12,000 miles across North America. And the part that I really like about it is you took, I forget what the number is, somewhere between 75 and 100,000 students along with you. And what do you mean when you say you took them along with you on that trek?
Oh, all along the way, we were posting photos and videos and communicating with the students through email and video conferencing, and so they were voting and helping us make decisions. So that we were trying to engage them in as many ways as we could to try and teach them about the wild places that we were visiting. And now that we're in the Boundary Waters, we're doing the same thing. We have thousands of students all across the country that are learning about the Boundary Waters through our expedition.
What an amazing time for children in school.
You aren't kidding.
Talk about resources that just, and technology that wasn't available to us. We got the old, I go way back to the old reel-to-reel days, and that and it was all garbled. But now kids can sit down in their classroom day to day and follow adventurers like Dave and Amy on these wilderness treks into areas like the Boundary Waters. It just opens up the world and take them along with you. Tell us about this latest adventure of yours. We just mentioned the big long trek across North America. Talk about your latest adventure in the Boundary Waters.
Well, 63 days ago, Amy and I paddled our canoe into the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. It's the largest wilderness area east of the Rockies and north of the Everglades, and our nation's most popular wilderness area. And we're spending an entire year inside of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. So we've been here for 63 days, but we're really just getting started. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just wondering, are you getting on each other's nerves yet?
Not yet.
Well, you guys have been isolated and with each other so long. We've talked about your trek across North America, and a lot of that was just the two of you. Of course, you met some amazing people along the way that helped and elevated your adventure. And, of course, the interaction with the kids keeps you very involved and very grounded. But give us kind of a snapshot of these first 60 days.
Well, it's been really amazing. It's been just a beautiful fall. It's been very unseasonably warm, and so we're still canoeing. And normally many of the lakes would be frozen now, but we were out canoeing today, visiting 3 different lakes that are unfrozen. So we're sort of enjoying warmer than normal weather now. We've had a lot of amazing animal encounters, moose and lots of eagles and loons and birds, migrating birds like geese and ducks when they were flying south about a month ago. It's been a real pleasure to be able to spend such an extended period of time in the wilderness.
Yeah, and you're up there. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Amy.
Oh, I was just going to say, and the Boundary Waters is a place that's mostly visited by people in the summertime. And so as the weeks have progressed, we've seen fewer and fewer other people out here. And at the moment, it feels like we have the wilderness to ourselves.
That's amazing. So not only seeing the transformation of the season up there and the migration coming through and the leaves and the colors changing, and now things, actually, I bet you're going to start to, encountering some ice here very, very soon if you don't have a thin sheet over it in some areas up there now. But you also just sort of the population, the people just sort of drifting away for the season as well. That's pretty remarkable. Now, the interaction that the kids have with you, these are middle school students, that age group?
It's really a mixture of elementary and middle school students that we work with in the wilderness classroom.
And how much interaction? I mean, that's a lot of students. I know on your North American trek, it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 85,000 students. That's a lot of students to interact with. How much interaction do you get with the students? A student a day get to ask a question, or is there any back and forth, or are they just basically watching what you're producing up there?
It really depends. A lot of them are just sort of watching, but they are welcome to send us questions or vote. We post polls so they can vote on different things. So there are a variety of ways that they can interact with us. We also do video conferencing, so a classroom can set up to have us do like a live Skype session with their class. So there are a variety of ways that they can interact. Many classrooms, it's sort of a one-way conversation where we're just sort of sending information out and they're not really interacting with us very much. And then there are other classrooms that interact with us on a regular basis. It really just depends on how the teacher wants to use it.
Is this anything? I want to follow along. I want to sit in on the classroom. Is this something that really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's true. You didn't send me that information. So how can we, big kids, follow along with your adventure up there in the Boundary Waters?
Oh, well, there's a lot of great ways for adults to follow along. We're posting regular updates to our social media accounts, which are Freeman Explore. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook. We also post regular blog posts to SaveTheBoundaryWaters.org. And then we're also writing regular posts for National Geographic Adventure and Canoe and Kayak Magazine. So we're posting information in a lot of places.
Dave and Amy Freeman, you have a teaching background. I mean, you must have. Were you teachers before you set off to check out of society and bring the kids along with you?
Well, neither Amy and I were formally educated as teachers, but we've been, guiding canoe trips and dog sledding trips in the Boundary Waters for many years, and we've always sort of had a love for the wilderness and wanted to share it with as many people as possible. So trying to find ways that we can educate people of all ages about wilderness and why it's important is something that we've always wanted to do.
Amy, I see that how the hell do you go from getting a master's degree in art therapy and ending up for one full year in the Boundary Waters?
Art therapy?
Art therapy.
Is that real?
That's a master's
Amy.
in art therapy.
Well, I spent too much time in the city during grad school. And so I decided to spend a year working up north in northern Minnesota after I graduated, and also Dave and I had plans to kayak around Lake Superior, and so after doing that, I was definitely hooked and kind of changed my direction a bit. But I still use quite a bit of what I learned getting that degree actually every day.
Atta girl. I'm looking at your map right now. Following the map that you guys, when you started from, I think you took off out of Moose Lake, I think. I don't know how many lakes you've reached already, but we're going to talk about, of course, the Twin Metals Minnesota project, the TMM, and you're concerned about, and that's why you're doing this. You're making awareness of what potentially is going to be happening just about 9 miles southeast of the city of Ely, Minnesota. That's a big, big deal, and that's why you guys are doing that. But let's talk a little bit about first, what are your concerns? You're going to be in the wilderness for a year. What are the obstacles are you concerned about?
Winter.
Amy and I have been, we've been leading dog sledding trips in the winter in the Ely area in the Boundary Waters for many, many years. So
I want to do it.
We're very comfortable out here in the winter. So, the winter is hard because it's just hard to stay warm. We need to cut a lot of firewood. We need to wear a lot of clothes.
Cuddle time.
But I think, our biggest concerns really are this time of year when everything's freezing, because you have this time when, there's not enough ice to walk on and too much ice to paddle through.
Yep.
We're really reaching that time right now. So that's a time that, concerns us because it's something we've never been out here during the freeze up before.
Okay.
And then in the spring, again, when the ice starts melting, that's also sort of a challenging time. So I think seasonally, those are the two times that we're sort of most concerned about. What about the bugs? I'm nervous about the bugs, I'll admit, in the spring.
Oh, yeah.
I know what it's like to be out in the Boundary Waters during June, and the thing is, it used to be like, I'm out for a few days, I can grin and bear it, but this time we'll just be constantly in the mosquitoes and the black flies.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, you're going to be in it. You're not going to have to worry about that for a while. Dave and Amy Freeman, spending a year in the Boundary Waters and taking our Minnesota students along with them, our guest tonight on the Four Outdoorsmen. I'm a bit of a weather junkie, you two, and this will certainly jinx your winter. However, I'm sure that you're probably aware we are in an El Nino type weather pattern, some warming out in the Pacific Ocean, switches the jet stream a little bit, providing the southern part of the United States with an abundance of snow and wet weather, the Rockies, the Sierras. In fact,
I'm impressed.
In fact, unfortunately, we've already had a young man from Minnesota die in an avalanche out in the Sierras, and it's not even December yet. That news was announced today, but so we expect them to get socked down there. Generally, in this region, Minnesota, during an El Nino year, a true El Nino, like we last experienced in 97 and 98, we generally have milder winters with less snowfall, above average temperatures. Did that figure at all into doing this adventure this year, that you thought you might catch a break?
It's a good question.
No, the reason we're doing it this year is just because of the threats of the mines that are being proposed, like Twin Metals, and we felt that now is really the time to do it, because this is a critical time when we can step back and look at the mines that are being proposed and decide whether this is really an appropriate thing to put right on the edge of this amazing wilderness area. And we don't think it's worth the risk. And so that's really why we're doing it this year. We're actually not really that excited that it's going to be warm. We sort of like winter. So we're hoping that we're not looking for a polar vortex, but
Yeah.
you know, we want we want a good Minnesota winter.
Well, like I said, I'm sure I jinxed you just suggesting that it was going to be even a milder winter, and I'm a winter enthusiast myself. And you're in a great area for being out in the Boundary Waters in the winter is not something that I've ever done. So I envy you that, and maybe you'll inspire me to do something. Every one of us here on the Four Outdoorsmen were talking before the show, sharing Boundary Water stories, part of our childhood, me raising my children, and our many trips up there. So let's talk about preserving the Boundary Waters. That's important. I don't care if you're a hard right-wing conservative, a business CEO. I don't care who you are. If you were raised in the Midwest in Minnesota, the Boundary Waters are important. They're important to our soul. So pardon my ignorance, but how much of a threat are these mines? I mean, what can happen? What is happening up there? What's the concern immediately?
Well, right now, Twin Metals is the first of a series of mines that sort of is being proposed along the southern edge of the Boundary Waters. And the Twin Metals mine is along Birch Lake and the South Quishue River. They're prospecting, less than half a mile from the southern edge of the wilderness. So we're talking about something that is right on the edge. And any water from the mine site, the water flows right into the wilderness area. So any water pollution that was caused from the mine has the potential to flow right into the wilderness area.
We just saw that happen down in Colorado this past summer.
Yeah, that's right.
Typically with mining, and there again, I'm uneducated on this. Maybe you can help me out. I don't know much about the particular type of
but
mining.
you're a hell of a weatherman, though.
That goes on up there, but often with mining runoff, it's toxic. The chemicals that they use are toxic to water. So how does the mining industry, I'm sure they have a plan in place. It's not the Wild West up there. I'm sure that they had to, pass several, go through a lot of red tape to get that mine in place up there. Are you talking about something that might be accidental just because of the proximity to the Boundary Waters, or something that you believe is just really going to deteriorate that area?
Well, this type of mining, it's a copper mine, and but it's a sulfide ore body. So there's sulfide in the rock, small amounts of copper, small amounts of sulfide. And when sulfide is exposed to air and water, it produces sulfuric acid, like battery acid, and that leaches heavy metals out, and it has the potential to cause large amounts of pollution. This is a much more challenging type of mining to do compared to, say, the taconite iron ore mining that we currently have in Minnesota. It's never been done in Minnesota. It has a very long track record of causing pollution. And we just don't feel that the edge of this amazing wilderness area that is at the heart of the local economy, our jobs and the jobs of most of the people that we know rely on the wilderness. So we don't think it's worth risking this amazing place, for this type of mining.
I imagine the copper mine has quite a legislative body, quite a lobby behind it, copper being in demand and short supply, and at a high cost. Copper thieves. 15 years ago, I never heard of a copper thief. Now, everybody that has any amount of copper wiring has to have a security force and 15-foot high electric fences. So you've got your work cut out, but, it all starts with awareness, and you're not only making us aware of it, but I think it's pretty cool that you've got the kids up there following along with you.
Yeah.
Does that figure into, now you're talking to elementary and middle school age students, is this something that you're communicating with them?
No, for the students, we mostly focus on the animals that we're seeing and predator-prey relationships and things like that. The mining issue is really something that we're focusing with our adult audience, and I'd encourage folks to go to SaveTheBoundaryWaters.org. There's a lot more information there about the mines that are being proposed and
The threats and the science behind why we're so concerned.
so that's a great place where people can get more information about the reason why we're here in the Boundary Waters for a year.
Hey, guys, I had a Lions meeting last night, and by coincidence, Mary McNellis has been around for a long, long time with my Lions meeting. I heard her holding a conversation specifically about this, and I'm not BSing, not because of the show.
About the copper mining.
And she was adamant about not letting this happen because she's been up there many times. She has a beautiful, beautiful home on Lake Vermilion. A little bit better than my hunting shack on Mud Creek Road. Anyway, but she was saying all this, they spent millions and millions and millions of dollars doing this feasibility study and all this lobbying for 350 jobs up there because someone's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they think, oh, we got 350 jobs. There are over 300,000 jobs in the state of Minnesota for tourism alone. So you have to weigh your battles here. And I think what you guys are doing is enviable. I wish I was part of it, but it's what you guys are doing, and we're proud to be able to help spread the word for you guys.
Well, thanks so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and we're going to be here for another 300 days. So hopefully we can talk to you again from the Boundary Waters.
We insist. SaveTheBoundaryWaters.org. Also, we're talking with Dave and Amy Freeman.
Yeah.
Freeman, your website is Freeman Explorer.
Yeah, you can find information at Freeman's Explorer as well as the Save the Boundary Waters.
Well, I envy your adventure, your sense of adventure, bringing the kids along, doing it for a good cause. I mean, it's romantic, it's cool. It just sounds also like a lot of fun. Good luck as your movement is limited a little bit here in this, as we start to freeze up there. And I can't wait to follow along, you two crazy kids. I think it's just the coolest.
And next year, Zepp and I are coming up there. You guys are taking us on a dog sled ride. How does that sound? A couple days in the Boundary Waters. I think it'd be a hell of a trip in the winter.
Yeah, it's a great place to visit in the winter.
All right. Thanks for being on the 4 Outdoorsmen. We'll support you. You support us. And keep it up and be safe, all right?
All right, thanks a lot.
You bet.
Bye.
Take care, you guys.
Dave and Amy Freeman.
It's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing.
I know. That's just the kind of stuff you wish you could do for a living, but nobody gets to do that. Oh, wait, they're doing it.
Who's funding this? I don't know who's funding this. But
I'm sure they pick up some sponsorships along the way. I don't know if there's education money involved because it's part of the classroom curriculum. We can talk about, I remember my daughter coming home one day and saying, I asked how gym was, and she said, "Oh, it was fun. We did dance. I forget what it is now, but
Revolution.
Remember the Dance Revolution, the dance pads? I know I bought them one. It was like $140 for Christmas." And I went, "You did what?" She goes, "In gym class."
Video game.
I said, "It's a video game where you jump on a pad and you watch a big screen and you try to keep up with their dance moves. But it seems aerobic. I got a little tuckered out. I got to be honest with you, throwing down some pretty rad moves. And I said, "Oh, you did that in gym?" So and they're like 80 kids in gym. And they said, "Well, Dad, they've got like 30 or 40 of them." I'm like, "Okay." Our education dollars are just flying out the window. We don't have enough. Think of the kids. Every time there's an election, it's like they take up most of the piece of the pie in that budget, but we've got to give the kids that don't have the money. And you're doing Dance Revolution at $140 a pad, and they've got like 50
Where's
of them.
the crime button, man?
In gym class? I'm sorry, I'm going to
I already
rant
used
it.
it once for him. There's a one-person limit.
Can I tell you,
That's Zepp steak this week.
What's that, buddy?
Oh, I was just going to talk about Lakes Trading Company before our next guest.
That's your guy, yeah.
Yeah, I just talked to Joe.
Yeah.
And they're going to do a special just for us starting Black Friday. If you type in Outdoorsman, like our show, The 4 Outdoorsmen, when you check out for conceal and carry class, you get $30 off.
Wow.
So Friday in the
Does that work for me too?
Well, you probably can get it free if you
Oh, all right. I've already worked the deal with it.
It's a great program. They've been really filling up. Whenever things happen in the news and people get a little paranoid, those classes fill up. But they're expanding it in the winter time. They have a lunch for you, so you have a class, that you have a nice lunch, and then you shoot afterwards. And they're just great guys up there. So
they are.
Go to lakestradingcompany.com And when you go to checkout and sign up for a class, put in the promo code Outdoorsman, and you get $30 off, and you can thank us later.
Well, I tell you what, that's wonderful. Lakes Trading Company is a hell of a store in the northeastern part of the Twin Cities here. And after you go do your conceal and carry, and after you launch your gun up, go have yourself a cold Coors Light, right? Because that's what we're having right about now.
It's not a video podcast. Otherwise, you would see how much we support our sponsor, Coors Light. And I think it's a pretty cool deal that big shots like Coors Light sponsor our little podcast.
As well as Devil's Lake Tourism. I'll be up there next month, and I'll be having a couple of Coors Lights sitting in a Lumacraft. I wonder if I can even legally drink a beer in a Lumacraft.
Will you be sitting in a Lumacraft in December?
Yeah, probably not.
Probably.
Yeah, I think actually Boomer trailers it up. I can't use it for his. He just makes Drew sit in it. You know, I was thinking about the Illumicraft because of the T-Pro 195 that Boomer has graciously let me go out and watch him try to fish in. Try to find fish in. But in addition to that, you know, I was thinking, I was talking to a friend the other day, and I said, well, you know, boat shows coming up in January. All the new Illumicraft models are there, and you can check them out. And he said, yeah, all the new ones are there, but they do come, even with the incentives, those new price tags. He said, this is one my buddy likes to go boat shopping because, and I do the same thing with my stuff. We all do it. You wait till the end of the season to buy a brand new 2015 because they've got to get room. They're ready to, how's the old commercial go? Wheel and deal. We got to get rid of these boats to make room for the 2016s. Prices are crazy right now. So that's something.
Our manager bought too many, and they're going off the line.
Boomer was talking on last week's podcast about some of the new innovations, and every year they make them a little bit better, and they come out with a completely new model. But there's nothing wrong with that 2015 model. We've all been in it. And now might be a good time to do some wheeling and dealing on a Lumacraft.
It's a nice boat.
So I know we all like to get geared up for the boat show on that third weekend, I think, of January. But now's not a bad time to just poke your head in and see what kind of deals are available to get those 2015s out of there.
Thanks for all the sponsors. There we go.
On Blue 42 Media for our website, you can go to Facebook /The 4 Outdoorsman. That's the numeral 4. We want to thank them for the 4outdoorsman.com. website, again with the numeral 4, and Blue 42 Media. Boomer has something to do with that. Maybe he's up to that tonight. But
he's really good at that kind of stuff, I'll tell you. That's
our Facebook and our website is a lot more professionally handled than we are.
Now all we need are shirts.
Yeah. Shirt's still available.
I see you still have the old one on.
It's such a nice shirt, though. But I did order four Outdoorsman shirts. I might get one for you. I got one that was extra large just for you.
Thank you.
Because you're gaining weight, pal.
Well, you know, I'm working into my competitive eating. I'm going to be a competitive eater. That's going to be my next start of my career. I'll tell you what, Dave and Amy Freeman, when you can get National Geographic Adventurers of the Year on the 4 Outdoorsman podcast, it's a pretty cool thing. But this is where we just go for fun. We're just shooting for fun here. Our next guest is Jeremiah Forster, and he's a competitive eater.
Yeah, but this is an outdoor show, so I think you must compete outside at some of those restaurants on a patio someplace.
I understand the guy likes to hunt, but he's just got kind of a weird, kooky, great story. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Competitive eating. We're going to talk hunting. And, of course, Mark Lukey's side passion, bodybuilding. We're just building on different parts of our body. There it goes.
Finally, we got a guest I can relate to. So
yeah, right.
Throw it on 8 pounds of chili.
Mark may just want to handle this interview himself.
Hi, this is Jeremiah.
Jeremiah, hi. This is Mark with the 4 Outdoorsmen.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Very good. Welcome, and take it away.
I expected a complete. I thought like a ribbit. I thought Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
Yeah, Jeremiah was a bullfrog.
I've never heard that before.
All right, Jeremiah, you're going to hear a lot of cliches on this show. Just brace yourself. It was actually, I hadn't even thought about it till the way he said, is Jeremiah there?
Yeah.
Jeremiah Forster, competitive eating. Can I call you a champion? Are you a champion?
I've won a few things, so I guess technically you could.
I'm going to say
his wife made a quilt out of all the T-shirts he's won.
Yeah,
that is he's won a lot of tournaments. He's done this about 60 times.
Boxing, you win belts. Fighting, you win belts. You get cups and some of the other things that you do, racing. But you win T-shirts.
No, you win T-shirts, and you make a quilt out of it, and you get to stay warm in the wintertime.
That's very cool.
Hey, Jeremiah, Steve Strusinski here. We've spoken a couple of times. Thanks for being on the 4 Outdoorsmen. Let's talk a little bit about your background first. You're from Sleepy Eye, and now you live in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Tell me something about. First, I want to talk about you were a very, very competitive bodybuilder. Tell us a little bit about that, and then how you got into the competitive eating.
Well, I moved away from Minnesota, I think, when I was 18, and 22. I moved away when I was 22, and went down to the Indianapolis, Cincinnati area, and I met some. I was kind of competing. I started competing when I was 17 in Minnesota, moved away, and then got really serious when I moved down into the Cincinnati area and got some really good mentors, and I was able to be pretty successful with it. I won the Ohio State Championship in '99, and then almost got to the very top nationally the following year, and then I had a really bad injury and had to stop. So it kind of, a few years after that, I met my wife, and I wasn't competing really anymore, and I've got this really competitive nature, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do now? And so a few years, past that, I started watching that show, Man vs. Food, and I thought that was really cool for whatever reason. I didn't understand, and then my brother and I were going to a Cincinnati Reds game down in the Cincinnati area, and there was a local contest, and I'm like, going to give it a try, see how I do, and, did pretty well, and I kind of got hooked, as most people would do with hobbies. I got hooked and just kept going from there.
Jeremiah Forster, our guest, a competitive eater, ex-bodybuilder. Jeremiah, you're talking about a couple of things that I kind of like to do, actually. I like to stay in shape, take care of myself, and I love to eat. However, you are one of those guys that takes it to the max. Let me give you an example. Today I went for about a mile jog, and I did about 40 push-ups, and then I had lunch. Yeah. But as you bodybuilders, I had a roommate that was a bodybuilder when I was in college. You guys are crazy. How many hours would you spend in the gym a day?
Yeah, really.
Honestly, not that much. It's all about, in bodybuilding, the nutrition is such a gigantic portion of it, and it's all about, consistency and doing it because a lot of times the people on diets, they'll do it for a week and then they'll stop for a week and then they'll pick it up January 1st. But with bodybuilders, you have to be consistent with it all the time, and then the time that you do spend in the gym, you have to be ultra intense. So it's just, I did it for 20 some years, and it's just, I think over time it just kind of, just got better. But I attribute much of it to the nutrition and to the consistency in what you do.
Hey, describe your injury a little bit, because if you were so into the bodybuilding and it encompassed your life, it had to be very, very serious to have you change your entire lifestyle. What happened? And was it during training?
It was on my 26th birthday. I still remember it. I was in Cincinnati on my 26th birthday, and I was getting ready for the Nationals. And at that time, it was my second year competing at Nationals, and I was probably predicted to be somewhere in the top 2 or 3 in the country. And I was bench pressing, and the whole kind of right side of my body, there was a major tendon that goes into, attaches into your chest, and that ruptured, and then the whole right pectoral just tore away from the bone. So right now I've got like a half a chest on the one side, and it just kind of threw everything out of kilter and out of whack. And at that level, when you're competing at that level, everyone is so good that if you're not, it's like being an NFL player. If your speed slows down just a little bit, you're no longer an elite player. So a lot of guys, it's kind of sad when you see people, whether it's in sports or competing, when you see them, they're past their prime, and I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be the guy that I knew it was over, so I just kind of thought, okay, it's done, and let's move on to other things.
Like watching Peyton Manning trying to play quarterback these days. Well, Jeremiah was a super competitive guy at a high level. When you're talking about being in the top 3 in nationals, you're at one of the very highest levels in your sport, and now that's gone. I mean, that had to be tough.
Not really. It was because so much of my identity was wrapped up in that. It was kind of like changing your identity. It was more of the I think the challenge. But it's, for whatever reason, it was that resolve to be like, all right, well, this is done. Let's what's next? Let's move on to the next thing. And I think very, very fortunately, it didn't knock me down too long.
Jeremiah,
so that.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You're so level-headed.
No.
I expected a guy that went from a top bodybuilder
in the world
to a highly competitive eater. Is that
competitive eater?
Competitive eater. Yeah. I expected you to be a bit of a wacko. because I'm like this guy.
Well, see, it depends who you ask. I mean,
I
you
suppose.
still might get that.
Right. But I mean, but you're very level-headed the way you approach everything. I imagine that's how. And by the way, I know you spent more time in the gym than the rest of us do. So, like I said, I had a roommate, so I know there were hours spent in there most days. And then, and you talk, and the discipline of eating and not eating. And I remember he would cut, and there'd just be lots of juice, grapefruit juice, I don't know, whatever around. We tried to tempt him as best we could because we were beer drinking, hot dog eating fools in college, but not Craig. So I know that takes quite a bit of discipline. Is it the same kind of discipline for competitive eating? Because if I had to pick, all right, this guy's a bodybuilder. He wants to do something else competitive. The last thing I would pick would be competitive eating.
Me too, yeah.
They seem like the opposites of each other.
Oxymoron.
But I'm guessing you're going to say they're not really.
Not really not that much different? Or
as far as the way you approach them, your discipline, training. Because competitive eating, you know what, we all want to sit here and go, yeah, you just eat as much as you can every day. It's awesome.
Well, being a former bodybuilder, it's like I still keep myself in shape. So it's like there's that kind of that thing there of like, okay, I'm going to do this. It's kind of like doing, what you alluded to in the beginning, being an extremist, doing extreme things, doing things that kind of most people don't do. And it's that, okay, I'm going to do these really extreme food things where I'm eating 5 to 7 pounds of food, but at the same time, I'm going to keep myself in really good shape. So strategically, there's just as much involved in doing that than there is, just trying to get in competitive bodybuilding shape. So, yeah, absolutely, the parallels there are very much the same. And when you look at a lot of the top competitive eaters, most of them are not big. Most of the guys that, in fact, it's funny. The top competitive eater right now is a male out in California, I believe, and I think he's maybe 125 pounds. And I would say, I was mentioning this to Stu before, is that we have Minnesota actually has a top 5 competitive eater right now, and it's a female, and she was born and raised. She doesn't live in the state anymore, but she was born and raised in western Minnesota, and she might be 115 pounds. So, a lot of the guys and gals are not really that big. And you'd think the heavier, the better, but it's not usually the case.
Can us big fat guys have one thing?
No, sorry.
I mean, you'd think eating we could at least have. But
Jeremiah, Mark is about 6'4", 335 or something like that. So he's jealous.
Can't we be good at anything? Give us that.
Yeah.
Is it something with just being able to stretch your stomach, do you think? Or what, why would slimmer people be so good at eating a ton of food?
Well, I think it is like a lot of things. A lot of it's just, genetics, and naturally you can just eat a lot, but there is a lot of training involved too with some of it's esophagus training, trying to be able, because when you're competitively doing things or you're competing against other people who are eating, part of the challenge is to eat a lot of food really quick. And so you've got to kind of almost train your esophagus to be able to shove a lot of food down without choking. And then additionally, then you have to, it's all about the capacity of your food, because if you're sitting there with like an 8-pound sandwich in front of you, but your stomach can only hold 6 pounds,
right?
It doesn't matter what you do, your stomach can rupture. So you've got to find ways to train to try to expand your stomach, so not only can you eat fast, but you can also shove as much food in there as possible.
Jeremiah, I've got to ask you this. How in God's name did you convince your wife to marry you? I mean, did she know about this addiction of yours before you got married?
Well, she knew my personality, so I think I didn't think it was a surprise to her. And I think she just kind of rolled. I take pretty good care of her, so I think she just kind of rolls with the punches, and she's like, well, he's good to me over here, so I'll kind of let him do his thing over there type of thing.
On October 29th at Shooters. Is Shooters in St. Cloud? Where is Shooters?
It is. It actually is right across the street from our church. So we do our church Thursday night. So we had a bunch of people. We had our pastors and stuff over there watching the event, and then we just walked right across the street and went to church afterwards.
I'm going to put this in perspective because I'm reading this right from the St. Cloud article that was also the St. Paul Pioneer Press. You had to reclaim your Dave Burger Challenge title. You had to beat eating an 11-patty bacon cheeseburger topped with onion rings and served with fries in 59 minutes. He ended up finishing 11 bacon cheeseburgers in 56 minutes, although Like many parts of the sport, it wasn't glamorous. He regurgitated a portion 52 minutes in, but it ate it back up with a spoon.
Ah!
That's a competitor.
Hardcore.
That's a competitor.
That's sucking it up right there. Pardon the pun.
I mean, we had people watching, and we had the newspaper there, and I'm like, I can't lose this.
Yeah. I suppose. Well, take us through I'm sorry. Continue on that. That was a pretty awesome feat. What else do you have to say?
No, I was just going to say the disappointing part in all that is that I probably was overconfident because when it said I had to regain my title, like 2 months before that, I did 10 burgers in 18 minutes.
Oh,
so it was like one. They just wanted me to do one more, and I thought, okay, it'll be a couple minutes more. So I was thinking that it would be like 11 and 20 minutes because I did 10 and 18. And so it was actually, a little embarrassing because I was there and I had a bunch of people there, and I really, really underperformed. So, the story I was hoping was going to be a little better than what it turned out.
I'm going to ask the question everybody thinks about when they're watching competitive eating. What is it, like a long day on the throne the next day, or because what goes in must come out to some degree? I mean,
it depends what you eat, and I mean, I've had some times.
Yeah,
where
how about 10 burgers?
Yeah, well, it's not as bad as like 8 pounds of chili. That had an effect where my wife was like, yeah, I think you need to sleep over there tonight.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on what you eat.
I mean, that's my mom would always be like, you're eating too much. It's not good for you. Is there physically side effects, physically bad things that come with this? I mean, I think bodybuilding, you get yourself in really good shape, but then again, you're probably working out to the max. But I mean, with competitive eating, that just can't be, that's not what your body wants, right?
I'm sure it's not healthy. I mean, I'm sure it's, there's no way that it can be to put that amount of sodium and fat in your body in such a short amount of time, and the internal stuff that goes on afterwards. Maybe it cleans you out really good. I don't know. Maybe it's really healthy.
Yeah.
And you were talking about the 8 pounds of chili. He did this. He trains by eating 8 pounds of chili in a half an hour a couple of days prior to his competition to kind of get ready for that.
I mean, part of me wants to, because just last night I didn't want to stop eating what I was eating because it was so good. What is it? So that's how you train then? It's not kind of a gradual building, and you just have to. In other words, for a competition, you when you eat the 10 burgers or you eat 8 pounds of chili, do you have to then do that like every day leading up to it, a couple of times a week, or how does that work?
Yeah, it really depends on how big if it's these smaller kind of ones that I know that I'll do pretty well at, it's not, really anything I train for. But some of the bigger ones, you've got to get I don't even know if you can expand your stomach that much, but a lot of it's just getting used to the volume of food. And it's us competitive eaters, with the term that we use is eat through the pain, because it gets extremely painful. I mean, it's really, when you go from full to really full to this is going to come back up, so that's kind of what we have to do, is eat through that portion. So that's kind of what the training is there. You're trying to force down a massive amount of food that's going to be more lower calorie oriented. Like one thing I do a lot is I've done 3-4 heads of lettuce and the night before, just because it's really high volume and not a whole lot of calories. And
that's crazy.
And
that's just it's bewildering to me, and just really kind of amazing. It's bodybuilding is about discipline, and I suppose competitive eating is too. But there's something here where you just, you just really have to push yourself beyond your boundaries.
It is. You get to that. There's that little internal message, that little internal voice when you get, let's say 3-4 pounds of food into your stomach, and you're getting these signals from your brain saying it's done, you're done, stop. And then you've got to push through that. So that's where a lot of that separates a lot of the really good eaters versus maybe the people that don't succeed, is that you push yourself mentally past that point, because you have to continue to eat fast. Because as soon as you stop and you try to just kind of slow down, you're done. So you've got to kind of push through that part, and that's it's much more mentally taxing than what you would think, and it's it's tough sometimes.
Hey, Jeremiah, we're going to wrap this up, but I'm going to ask you two more questions, all right? Number one,
Sure.
The first one was there's some kind of rumor that your wife gave you some kind of a Christmas gift that relates to your hobby. Can you describe that?
Well, that was the quilt that you were talking about. She surprised me last year and took all my T-shirts and made this big, giant blanket.
What a nice woman. And the last thing I want to talk about is you mentioned this as well. I'm not sure if I read it or we talked about it, but one of the most difficult contests that you won, I believe you won, was in Dinkytown. I think in 2014, right around here. We're not too far from Dinkytown right now.
I work in Dinkytown.
Yeah, he works in Dinkytown.
Dang it. I would have gone.
He's at KQRS right over at Cumulus Broadcasting. Anyway, so you finished this big contest. What did you eat? And then all of a sudden, what did you do immediately after you won that tournament, after that contest?
Yes.
Well, the challenge is called the challenge is called the Pooper Challenge. Is it called Baldy's Barbecue over in
Yes. Yeah. Look at us. Yeah.
Yeah.
I competitive eat there every other week.
It was a 3-pound dish, and that doesn't sound bad at all, in comparison to what I normally did. But what I didn't realize is that they use this incredibly hot, spicy sauce over the entire thing. So my wife and I, we were down the street because we've got tickets to go to the Vikings game, so we're getting ready to eat. And I'm like, this is a little challenge. I'll do it, and then we'll get a T-shirt and a free meal and go over to the Vikings game. Well, I start eating it, and all of a sudden I realize it's hot and spicy. And
a little sweaty?
I think I started because the other thing I do is do a lot of really hot ghost pepper stuff, but because of that I developed I think an ulcer. So I'm sitting there and I get done with it and I do pretty well with it, but then I start getting all these massive cramps in my stomach, I think based on all that hot stuff and it kind of aggravating an ulcer. So in order to get to the game from over at the barbecue place, I'd walk a half a block, then sit down, then walk another half a block and sit down. And then we went to the game, and I had to sit there and just, misery for the whole game.
I imagine.
Ouch.
But you got a free dinner.
Now you know how Vikings fans feel every Sunday. Well, no, we've had a pretty good. No, I'm just, we'll be fine this year.
I had the same feeling Sunday. We were at the Packers game. It's just I
Were
didn't
you?
do a food challenge.
For sure. Jeremiah Forster, one last question. We got to wrap it up. Jeremiah, what's your favorite food to competitive eat? What's the one that you're like, this is mine. I got this.
Burgers.
Burgers. You're a burger guy. Nothing wrong with that.
Burger guy.
Jeremiah Forster lives up in St. Cloud. Thanks for being on the 4 Outdoorsmen. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It was great.
If you come down to the Twin Cities for some kind of contest, someplace in the 7-county metropolitan area, we're going to find you. It'll be kind of a lot of fun, and maybe even do a broadcast. But
that would be a lot of fun. I'd love to go out and see. I've never witnessed one of them. Yeah,
Announce it. Wouldn't that be fun to live announce a?
I'd love to do it.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'd love to do it. Jeremiah, thanks. All the luck moving forward, man.
Nice man too. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. You too, and I'll definitely be promoting the show.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Take care, sir.
Jeremiah, look at that. Dave and Amy Freeman are on a year-long expedition and journey in the Boundary Waters, and Jeremiah Forster, bodybuilder turned competitive eater. That's pretty cool. That's a fun
if
show.
you guys are still listening and you find his Facebook, I went to Jeremiah Forster and got all kinds of things. And when I saw a bodybuilder, Ohio State champion, I thought it can't be the same guy. But when I called him, he goes, "Yeah, I'm the same guy. That was you in 1999. You've got to see what this man looked like." And not only the discipline, but I think these guys, there's an addiction there. I think once you start doing that, you have to be encompassed.
I'll tell you what, I had 2 dinners last night because I went out to dinner and I drank, and then somebody didn't want theirs, and I took it home and I ate another dinner, and I crapped 3 times. And that was probably a pound of food. 8 pounds of chili? Are you kidding me?
It's amazing. Good for him. And he only weighs about 180 pounds or so. Good for him.
That's impressive. The 4 Outdoorsmen on liveandsocial.com. I want to thank our sponsors again, Lumacraft, Lakes Trading Company up in Forest Lake, Coors Light, Devil's Lake Tourism, and Blue 42 Media. Share us on your Facebook or let your friends know. We need all the help we can get. And happy hunting and fishing, and get outdoors.